they are basically saying 95% of Nigerians should be financially included.
So like once you have like 25 million, either coming or living in a month, if it's up to that amount, so you'll be taxed. So do you think that is something that we should have on our minds?
If they are paying less, more people are paying.
A lot of Nigerians do not store their wealth. A lot of Nigerians are not financially stable.
Hello and welcome to Economically Speaking. For our new viewers, Economically Speaking is a podcast by NESA PAU where you can get your current economic news. Today, we're switching gears from classroom theories to real-world economics, straight from the heart of Abuja, where the 66th Nigerian Economic Society conference just wrapped up. We'll be having a conversation about how that went down and what we think about it. Today, to help us unpack, we have Onyedikachi Ogwuadu, an economics student who attended the event. Welcome, Kachi.
Thank you.
Great. So, Kachi, before we get into the questions, let's start with introductions. So, tell us a bit about yourself, what you study, and what motivated you to attend the NES conference this year.
Thank you. My name is Ogwuadu Onyedikachi, a student of Year 2 Economics, Pan Atlantic University. What my motivation was to attend this program was first my want to be more active both as a student here in our economic society and as a future economist. And secondly, my elder brother just graduated from PAU and now he's an associate member, so that was another reason for me to join him on that trip. Thank you.
Great. So congrats to Kachi's brother on his new induction, and it's really great to have you here. So the first question is, what were your first impressions when you got there, and did the event live up to what you expected?
Okay. Genuinely, when you hear this sort of conferences, it's usually the same buzzing words. Either it's restructuring or reshaping or rethinking or re-something, right? So hearing rethinking Africa's development, I was at a negative disposition because I was like, it's just going to be the same typical thing where viable ideas are thrown out there, but there's no implementation. Nobody considers them. The speakers there do as though they're actually listening, but once the conference is over, that's where the ideas end. So at first I was laid back, but going there and seeing that the speakers were actually well vested, they didn't just come to give ceremonial speeches, but rather they came with ideas, facts, and statistics. It felt really authentic. Thank you.
Okay, great. So it's really nice to hear that the conference, though it had the same buzzwords that you'd typically hear, right, lived up to your expectations or corrected your original disposition. So the exact theme was very long. Rethinking Africa's development, pathways to economic transformation, and social inclusion in a changing global economic landscape.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you know the theme, did any particular speaker or session or both stand out to you, and why?
Yes, definitely. Especially two speakers. Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, former Minister of Finance 2007 to 2009, and as well as the former Minister of Economic Planning 2009 to 2013. As well as the Vice President himself, Kashim Shettima. They both stood out to me because the way they backed up all their points with verifiable statistics really gave a sense of genuinity, because what we see in all these conferences is people giving out empty points, but it's just like, it seems as though they are just gaslighting the crowd, if I may say. Seeing points such as the debate we had between Nigeria, Indonesia, and Malaysia, where we compared our economic status, and we came to the conclusion that it is quite important that some certain political positions, such as the Minister of Finance, Minister of Economic Planning, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and Budget, they should definitely not be politically appointed, but rather be based on merit, that is based on technical know-how. Such debates such as that, such points such as that, really made everybody believe that these leaders know what they are doing and know the way to drive Nigeria forward. Thank you.
Great. So, just like you said in the beginning, right, that the conference wasn't just talk, right? It looks like they were going to implement. So, I'm also really hoping that since they were the ones that recommended these changes that seem to have intrigued you so much, they also put systems in place that can actually allow implementation. Right. But anyway, so thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. So, were there any new ideas that challenged how you previously viewed economic development in Nigeria or in Africa as a whole?
Yes, definitely. When I heard the vice president's speech, but especially when I heard the CBN governor's speech, that is Governor Cardoso, yes, Governor Cardoso, yeah. When he spoke, there are certain statistics they were able to raise that as a layman you would not understand, because what we see is, or what we feel rather, is economic development. That is the qualitative increase in our well-being, basically. But when you're looking at economic growth, that's actually rise in GDP, yeah, you realize that Nigeria is growing economically. Okay, going back to this statistic that the governor raised, in 2024, towards the end of 2024, that was the first time in a very long time that Nigeria experienced a positive balance of payment of $6 million. But a layman will not understand that. To a layman is, oh, Nigeria is not getting better, because a layman doesn't care about the statistics. It's more of, oh, am I seeing food on my table? Are the prices getting lower? But I believe that it gives me a new perspective, because I believe that with the right systems in place, we are able to see this growth translate into development. Thank you.
So that was that was an interesting point of view, right? And I would say I would also agree, but I do recognize that it's easier for us to recognize this the value of the statistics and recognize some sort of growth because we're privileged to understand what they mean, right? But just like you said, the layman really cared about food. So I mean, with this conference and with how should I say pragmatic they seemed when speaking, we hope that the systems they talked about and all the data that they're collecting, they actually utilize it to make economic development evident to even the layman.
Yeah.
Right. But thank you so much. So now, as a student, coming to you as a student, did you find any discussions relevant, right, to you as a young Nigerian? And did you also feel like you were actually included in these conversations? Right. So let me give you a little more context. Again, in conferences like this, you had the CBN governor, you had the vice president, right? You had ministers. So I can only imagine how skewed it must have been. So you have all these top people, and then there's like students, like for example, in second year, your brother just finished. So how was that like? Do you think it was easy to network? Just give me a whole mental picture. Let's paint a mental picture for our viewers. What was that like, student to professional?
Okay, let me be frank with you. It wasn't really, yeah, there were networking sessions. On the first day, after a certain session, like after a speech and everything, they said, oh, this is networking session. But you can imagine, oh, having these dignitaries, ministers, special advisors, top professors. Two of our professors were actually there. Top people in the economic industry, basically top men there, and definitely some of them are professional friends. So what you see is, oh, two professionals that maybe haven't seen each other in a while. Oh, catching up. That's when they are catching up, and all these dignitaries, they have like security around them. or you see professionals pitching to these dignitaries. So it's not going to be young people that are in university, or people that just came out of university, fresh out of university, that are pitching to the professionals. The professionals are also trying to pitch opportunities from the dignitaries or the people above them. So for the young people, like, it wasn't so easy. It's mostly you connecting with yourselves. But of what use, of what good, like how much good can you get from knowing this person from Babcock University or from Lagos State University? Like, there's not much networking there. Do you understand? Definitely you're getting to know people, but there's not much networking there. That's just what I'm going to say, and I'm going to be frank. Thank you.
Alright, okay. So, I mean, just like you said, I mean, I could also imagine that it was mostly going to be very biased, right, in terms of
Yeah.
networking. But then, how about the conversation? Let's look for something. So, in the conversations, were there student-led conversations, or in certain conversations where you guys just put the side at the back only for Q&A, and they give you 2 minutes and wrap it up, or was it very engaging?
Okay, let me start from the first day. On the first day, students were given a hall to discuss, where the special advisor to the CBN governor on strategic planning gave a speech there and spoke to us. So I wasn't privileged enough to go for the conference they had last year with the CBN governor, because apparently some representative from the student association across different chapters, PAU, Lagos State University, all of them, they all went to meet the CBN governor, and they had a conference, right? But from what I understood, in that conference, valid points were brought up by students, yeah, and that also helped create the e-library initiative that the CBN has actually put out there now. A rich library which is stocked with a lot of information, which is actually good. So I can tell that they actually listen to students, and students have some sort of voice, but at the same time, there's always improvement to be made. Thank you.
So, as a student, right, just very briefly, what discussions would you say piqued your interest, right? Or what parts of the conversations did you feel very inclined to? And also just paint a mental picture for us. So, how was networking like? The every other thing aside from the talks and speeches where you had to sit down. How did those go?
Okay. Definitely there were some sessions that really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on the first day, where students were given a hall where we were allowed to network
Amongst yourselves, yeah.
amongst ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
as well as throw around ideas. Also, the special advisor to the CBN governor on strategic planning was actually present there to give a speech and also to speak to us. So, from what I understood, last year, some student representatives from several students association chapters around Nigeria were privileged to meet the CBN governor, where valuable ideas were actually thrown out there, which led to the recent development of an e-library initiative by the CBN, which is actually a wonderful one, which shows that student voices are actually heard and considered. And that's really a symbol of hope, if you ask me. Okay, moving on to networking. How was networking at this event for students? Networking amongst each other was actually beautiful. It was nice. I got to meet so many interesting people. Although networking amongst older or higher professionals in the economic space was not as easy. You can imagine trying to network with dignitaries or trying to even network with hire professionals that have made pathway in this economic journey. It may not be that easy, but I really hope that next year, by God's grace, I'll be there again. It will be definitely better. Thank you.
Go. So finally, right, as we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you would leave us with, right, from this conference? So a quote, a one-liner.
Okay. From this conference, it won't be far-fetched for me to say the government is working. The growth is slow, steady, but it's sure. Rather sooner than later, we will prefer if it's sooner. This growth is going to translate to development. Thank you.
Okay, very well said, very beautifully said, and I really hope that you believe that. Okay. So yeah, that wraps up today's episode on economically speaking. The next conference might be over, but the conversations on Africa's development are far from done, right? So whether you're a student, a policymaker, or just a curious listener, remember that economics is closer than you think. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section. How do you think Africa can rethink its development? Until next time, I'm Tofumi Olusodo, and this has been Economically Speaking. Keep thinking, acting, and being economical. Thank you.